Hello, happy live, happy Wednesday. I apologize, I didn't get a chance to go home and change, so I'm in kind of grubbies. I only made it to the office, so I figured it was better than nothing. So I hope you guys are all well. Happy the interest rates didn't go up today. Hooray! 8 times in a row they've gone up and they did not go up today, so I'm super pumped about that. I am going to do the normal. I'm going to go over your guys' questions and answers, and I'm going to do happy news as well as real estate updates. So feel free to ask any questions. Otherwise, I will just blab away. Again, I apologize on my appearance, but I did not make it home in time after my running around today. And sorry, Charlie is taking every bone out of the basket of toys in front of me, so disregard the noises. Again, any questions, feel free to ask, okay? Okay, so I'm also happy it's almost spring, by the way. First question comes from Carolyn, and Carolyn is in Stroud. So Carolyn said, my mom has a house where they have added water and sewers to the street, but she has this extra cost now for 10 or so years. Do you think it'll be hard to sell it with that? Should we wait until after it's done? Thank you, Carolyn, for asking. I totally understand what you mean. I forget the last time I did somewhere like that. I think it was on Pine Street in Barrie off of Big Bay Point. So we've sold a few times on that street, and it still sells. People know, like, hey, it's $436 extra a month that goes towards, you know, this thing that got the water and sewer and what have you. It's not like it's $4,000 extra a month or anything crazy like that. So you're fine. I think you're fine to sell it. We've done it, like I said, lots of times, or at least 3 times in there. So I think you're fine to do it. And a lot of people that come from the city don't understand septic anyways. So septic sometimes weirds them out. So for them not to have septic, they'd rather be like, okay, let's pay a little bit extra for the next little bit and so forth. And even if, for example, there was another house that was $850 and this one had this extra amount, they might say, oh, well, $835 or whatever because they have this extra amount, but they're not going to say, oh, here's $600 or anything crazy like that. Okay, so thank you for asking. The most money ever was actually just raised from an all-student philanthropy. And hi, Dad, how are you? So it was actually Penn State University, so it's 2 hours from New York City and New Jersey. And it happened a couple Fridays ago. So there were 1,600 students, and basically they have a no sleep, no sitting rule. So they literally just dance around. And again, 1,600 students, and they raise money for cancer for kids. The people that started it 51 years ago, their son died from cancer. So basically the school has carried on the tradition, and they they raised over 15 million US dollars. So again, that's the most ever raised by an all-student philanthropy, and they do it once a year. And again, they just dance. So they dance from Friday night to Sunday night, no sleeping, no sitting, etc. Raised over $15 million, which is amazing. So I love that. Next question comes from Jack and Barry. So Jack and Barry said, do people normally buy first or sell first? How does that work? I don't want to be paying 2 mortgages. Thank you, Jack, for asking. So everybody's different. So some people, for example, will say, hey, I found this house, I want to buy it. I'm going to conditionally put an offer on it, SPP, which means sale of purchaser's property. So they'll put finance, inspection, and condition on the sale of their property, and then they list their property, and hopefully they sell it in time and they don't get bumped by somebody. And when I say bumped by somebody, an SPP, no seller is going to take an SPP unless there's an escape clause. So unless they can offer it for sale to other people, just in case somebody else doesn't have a home to sell or their home is more saleable, etc. like that. The only thing about that is you might fall in love with a house and then you might get bumped. So you could list your house first, sell it first, know how much money you're going to have in your pocket, etc., know how much you're qualified for on the other end. That does scare some people though, because they're like, what if I don't find a house I like and then I'm homeless, etc. So you kind of have to weigh your options of what you would rather do. Some people just take the chance and say, like, I think I'll sell it for X amount of dollars and so forth, but they don't know. So it's totally up to you, but those are the options that you could do. There's also a thing called a reverse condition. So you could sell your home and have a reverse condition. So conditions normally protect the buyers, financing, inspection, sale of their home, etc. But a reverse condition protects the seller. So you could say, hey, I have 30 days to find suitable accommodation. If you don't find a house that you like and that you want to buy, then that deal is null and void, and then those buyers get their deposit back. So you could do that as well, just to help protect you a little bit more. But thank you for asking. What is next? Oh, there was a man. This is one more, actually, no, a couple more things before real estate updates. So, you know, the famous words, if you don't use it, you lose it. So there were these 80-year-olds, and basically they said they wanted to go around the world in 80 days, and they're 80 years old, but then some COVID delays, etc. So now I forget what they called it. 81 and still on the run or something like that. They're doing 18 countries and seeing all the wonders of the world. And one's a documentary photographer. The other one is a retired physician. And they just want to inspire other, women or even men, their age. Again, they're 81, that, not to sit in their chair and go explore. The one person's daughter said, if she falls out of a hot air balloon or falls off a mountain, at least she's doing something that she loves. So I really like that. And my stepmother has said the same. But she said if she dies on the back of a tandem bicycle with my dad, she'd rather do that than, sitting knitting a scarf or something like that on a rocking chair. So anyways, living their best lives. So I love it. Next question is from Cassandra. Cassandra is in Shanty Bay. So Cassandra said, okay, the interest rate didn't go up, but when is the next possible change? Okay. April 12th is the next possible hike that it could go up, and then there's another one in June possibly, but they're saying that it's either going to stay or go down. So that's good. Again, April 12th possibly could go up, but everybody's saying it's not going to go up. It's either going to stay the same or go down. Okay, so you're good till April, and then again, good till June. So it's supposed to be, again, staying the same or going down for the next little while. They haven't said anything about going up. It's all same or down. Okay, but thank you for asking, Cassandra, because definitely when the interest rate kept going up, it was bringing the values down of people's homes. Hope you're having a great evening so far, everybody. One more thing before I do the real estate update. So there was a man in Philadelphia, and he was basically on the operating table. He was going to get, was it a liver? Yeah, liver. He was going to get a liver, and I guess there was a marathon that day, and they closed off a bunch of the streets and so forth. So they closed off all these streets, but there's still ways for the ambulances to get through. But I don't know if it was a new driver, all these one-way streets and, roadblocks, etc. So he said he couldn't get it through. Basically, the surgeon had him pin where he was, and the surgeon left in his scrubs and his running shoes and zigzagged through. The city found him in the little kind of lunch pail with the ice with the liver, brought it back, did the guy's surgery. He recovered. He got out of the hospital 6 days later, called his surgeon, his complete hero. So anyways, I just like happy stories like that. So we are going to jump into real estate updates. Thank you guys, by the way, for voting us #1 Barrie's Top Choice Real Estate Agency for the 4th year in a row. So that's amazing. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you for voting us again. So real estate updates. So obviously the interest rate, the Bank of Canada did not go up today. So it did go up 7 times last year, 1 time this year. The last time was January 25th. So 8 times in a row. And this time it did not go up, thankfully, which again is amazing. So lots of people are sighing a sigh of relief. Again, the next possible hike is April 12th. But again, everybody's saying that's not going to happen. It's either going to stay the same like it did today, or it's going to come down. Okay? So you've probably heard of all the price drops and that kind of thing. But there was a report just done 2 days ago, and it said unfortunately that Ontario, out of all provinces, all territories, Ontario is going to feel the biggest drop. Okay, so that is not ideal. However, they're saying it's going to be, Ontario as a whole is going to go down 25% by the end of 2023, but they're counting that from the peak, so basically March of last year, and most areas have already gone down 16 to 18% anyways. So let's just say we're going off of that Simcoe County rate, for example, so 16.7%. That only leaves 8.3% extra to go. So if that was an $800,000 home, it would be worth $734,000 by the end of the year, just to give you an idea. However, things have gone up, most places 50, 75, 100%. So it might go down, 25%, but it might have been up 100% since the beginning of the pandemic. So we can't, before it was going up 3 to 5% a year. So you guys have been making lots of money, so it's okay. So it's all good. What else? Within Ontario, actually, GTA is not supposed to feel the most of the hit of the correction. It's actually supposed to be places farther, okay? So places like Thunder Bay, Sudbury, Timmins, Bancroft is actually supposed to feel the biggest hit. So Bancroft is supposed to feel the biggest hit of 50%. So followed by Bancroft, there are supposed to be some big hits in Northumberland's, which to be honest, I don't even know where that is. Woodstock is supposed to feel 40% of a correction. Ingersoll is also supposed to feel 40% of a correction. Owen Sound is supposed to feel 39% of a correction. Again, this is off of March of last year, so most places have already experienced 16 to 20%, so might be another 20% depending on the location. Muskoka and Haliburton is supposed to feel 39% correction from, again, not now, from March of last year, so they've already experienced majority of that correction. Their guesstimate between 30 to 38% of a correction is going to be felt, and that's in Durham, London, Windsor, Guelph, Peterborough, Kitchener, and Niagara Falls. Okay. So GTA is supposed to feel a bit, but only 20%. And again, they've already gone down 16 to 18%. So it's only 4 to 2% expected correction from now to the end of the year. Around 23% is supposed to be Mississauga. York is supposed to feel a correction around 19%. Ottawa, 20%. Timmins, 20%. And Thunder Bay teeters around 25%. Okay. What else? So majority of economists are saying that people are not going to feel the lowest of low until the second half of 2023. And again, the smaller towns are going to feel more, like Bancroft, etc. People are just calling. The same report guesstimates declines in people staying in Ontario. So I had said that before, that we were noticing tons of our clients leaving the province. Originally, they were going to the Atlantic. Now a lot of them are going to Alberta. So this same report said a lot of people are still going to continue to do that just because of the lack of affordability. So that is going to continue on in Ontario. And as I flip my page here, so Toronto is still the most unaffordable city in all of Ontario. And surprisingly, next to that is Hamilton, St. Catharines, and Kitchener. Okay, I wouldn't have thought that. I would have said like Kleinburg, Oakville, or something like that. But supposedly that's what this study said. What else? So obviously, yes, homes are cheaper now than they were March of last year, April of last year, May of last year, etc. But to pay your actual payment, it doesn't actually seem cheaper because the interest rates are higher, right? Because again, the interest rates went up 7 times last year. So yes, you can buy a home for cheaper, but in your monthly payment, are you going to notice it? No. Okay. So this report that I've been talking about, it was from Desjardins, and they don't expect the affordability to come down for about 2 to 3 years for people. Okay. So basically, doesn't mean house prices come down in 2 or 3 years. It just means, interest rates coming down and so forth, people being able to afford more. Whether people will come back from other provinces, I have no idea. Ontario is the most populated province or territory in Canada, which I did not know. I don't know if BC had more or whatever, but Ontario has the most. There was a recent TikTok video that went viral. It was from a lady in Toronto, and basically she doesn't own a home, and she's like, hey, if I buy this home, it's going to cost $1 million to buy it. It's going to cost me $225,000 down, but basically she'd have to pay $5,400 a month in her payment, and only $12,000 was going towards her interest. The rest was going towards principal. The rest was going towards her interest. So she's like, why am I paying $5,400 a month and only $12,000 is going towards principal? So she was saying it's a scam and what have you. But the only thing is let's just say she bought the property for $1 million. In 5 years, it's worth 1.5, for example. If she was renting, obviously she wouldn't have that $500,000 of extra equity, right? So that's where it comes into play. It absolutely, doesn't go, the more years you're into it, the more it goes off your principal. But right at first, it doesn't go off your principal a lot. But for people to have $500,000, like she said, oh, I could put this in the stock market. Most people, one, won't put it in the stock market, and two, if they do, I don't know if they make $500,000. Maybe they do, and they can just rent and do that. But anyways, that was a TikTok video that went viral about the Toronto real estate market. What else? She also said that the home would be basically a $200,000 mortgage because she'd buy it for $1 million, have a $200,000 down payment, $800,000 would be the mortgage. The other $25,000 was just for a land transfer tax. And by the end of the term, her $800,000 mortgage would actually cost her $1.6 million. But again, she wouldn't have had that extra $500,000 just in the 5 years, let alone the 25 years. Maybe it's worth $2 million, $2.3 million, etc. So she'd have all that extra. So that is something that obviously was not talked about. So I spoke a little bit last week about Bill 23. So another thing about Bill 23 was that a tape was leaked from 2018 with Doug Ford, and it was like an election time and what have you. And basically he was caught on tape saying like, hey, if you vote for me, I will not unleash, but undo all this green belt and stuff. And basically 6 not investors, land developers own the land all around it as it is, which is already valued at about $500 million, and that's without this major highway through it. So he wants to put this major highway through it, and then they can build all next to it, and this highway is called Highway 413, and it's a $10 billion $10 billion with a B billion-dollar highway, and it's about a 600-kilometer stretch. But to do that, they would have to get rid of 400 acres of protected land. So obviously, lots of people are up in arms about that, and there is it was actually halted in by the Federal Impact Assessment Act, and then in December after that, then they came out with this housing affordability thing, this 1.5 million homes by 2031, and saying, oh, we need to release all this land. But as I spoke about last week, they already have more land than enough to do 2,050,000 homes, and they only need 1.5. So people think it was just a way for him to try and get this land unlocked again and do that highway. And then there's another two parties, so the Democracy Watch and the Environmental Defense, they contacted OPP saying they think, hey, there's some sneaky criminal activity going on, so they're still looking into that 7,400 acres. I know I talk fast, but there's lots to cover here. What else? So a lot of people obviously want to keep up with the Joneses, and they have a pool and they have a nicer car and they have a renovated kitchen, etc. So private mortgages are up actually 72%, not 17%, 72% since 2019, which is crazy. And there's over $22.4 billion, $22.4 billion with a B dollars lent out currently in private money, which is insane. There was just another survey done, or a report I should say, and 1/3 of people said they don't think they'll ever be able to buy a home, which is obviously a lot. 33% of people said they don't think they'll ever be able to buy a home, and that was up over 8% from 6 months ago, and 15% just from a year ago. So as time goes on, obviously the interest rates are going up, and people are like, I'm never going to be able to afford a house. So that is what happened. And in that same survey, even the people that have mortgages, 47% of people said if their mortgage went up 20%, that they would have a hard time paying it and might possibly not be able to pay it. And 14% of first-time buyers already say that they struggle with every single monthly payment. So that's as it is. Okay, next question comes from Chris and Tammy, and they are in Lefroy. So Chris and Tammy said, we've been saving for years to buy a home, but whenever we get close, a car breaks or someone is laid off, etc. What do you think about rent to own? Thank you, Chris and Tammy, for asking. I've been asked before. I personally don't like rent to own. So let's just say, for example, your rent is $3,000, and the person says, hey, let's do $5,000 a month, and your $2,000 extra a month will go towards your down payment. The problem with rent to own is, let's just say you miss it by 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, etc. Any of that $2,000 extra that you gave for however many months, years, etc., you have lost, okay? So a lot of people that do rent to owns actually purposely want you to default on it and so forth. So basically they just got extra rent for all that time, okay? So I personally don't suggest it unless you know that you can keep up with those payments, etc. Because if you miss one payment, then you're in default and you lost all that extra money, which is really unfortunate, and it's going to be really hard to get ahead at that point, okay? But thank you for asking. And your other questions, feel free to message in the chat or call us at the office at 705-726-7000. Again, 705-726-7000. Thank you for asking. So there was a man in West Virginia. He quit his job. He opened 2 Airbnbs. Well, one, first of all, and it was a bus. And it was on, both of them are on their own property. So they just live rurally in West Virginia. And so he did a bus. And then he said, hey, I want to build a treehouse to their newlyweds, to his wife. And she said, only if you put an extra bathroom, because obviously the school bus doesn't have a bathroom. So the people were coming to the home to use their bathroom in the shower. So he said, fine, I'll give you an extra bathroom, and built a treehouse. And now the people from the bus and the treehouse come and use this bathroom. And he used to be renting them for $39 a night. Now he rents them for $129 a night, and he quit his job. So I like when people think outside the box. Obviously he tried, he did it, and he quit his job that he didn't like. So that's good as well. Next question comes from Jacqueline, and Jacqueline isn't Barry. Jacqueline said, my mortgage is coming to renew in August. Should I lock in again, or will I get screwed if the rates go down? Thank you, Jacqueline, for asking. So most people are saying that the rates are going to go down. Exactly when, I don't know. I would probably just do it as an open, just because they are supposed to go down, because you'd hate to lock in, for example, 5.4, and then in 6 months they're 3.9 or whatever. So I would do an open, but I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm a real estate broker. So you could talk to a professional in that sense, but I would imagine that would be the better outcome for you, but I would check with them just in case. But thank you for asking. So there was an Ontario woman that was constantly talking to a homeless man. And so it started as basically hello, a nod, then how are you? And she saw him all the time, and then eventually they got into deeper conversations. and she found out he was living in a shed, and he had lost both of his wives, his first wife, his second wife, etc., to illness. And anyways, that he had worked at a farm some 40 years before. She had a farm down the road, and she ended up offering him a job, and now he goes there and helps every day with her 200 plus animals and so forth. So I just like, one, she gave him a chance. Two, he obviously is kind and what have you, and they bonded and connected. And I just don't like when people overlook people and what have you. You never know anybody's circumstance. So I like both of them in that story. The next question comes from Jason, and Jason is in Barrie. So Jason said, I really want to stay in Simcoe County as I do have a son here, but it's just so expensive. Do you think I should buy further north and drive down every other weekend for my son, or stay and rent? Thank you, Jason, for asking. That's obviously a personal opinion, and I can't really answer that. But for example, if you were hearing the part about real estate, so the further north cities, towns, etc., they're supposed to take a bigger hit. So I'd hate, for example, you to buy somewhere for $350,000, and then by the end of the year, it's worth $300,000. Do you know what I mean? I'd hate for that to happen. Or maybe you could stay here, but maybe you could get a roommate or two, or maybe you could get a duplex and you could live in the basement. You could rent up upstairs or something like that, just to give you options. Because maybe if you're here in town and the mom is like, hey, I'm working late, can you grab him? Or maybe you won't just see him every other weekend, maybe you see him more often. I don't know. I would try and stay here if you could, but just because further away is supposed to go more down in value. So that's just me. But anyways, thank you for asking. I think we have one more thing and one more question. Okay, so not your typical nonprofit. There's obviously tons of different nonprofits out there, but there's one called Loose Ends, and basically, let's just say a grandma is crocheting a sweater or a quilt or something like that for her grandchild or her daughter or something, and then passes away. This company or nonprofit, Loose Ends, will finish it for them. So they've done over 5,000 projects, and they started out of Maine and Seattle. And again, I just like when people think outside of the box and so forth. So they just help people. So, they finish that cute little, I don't know, baby's blanket or baby's bib or something like that from the grandma that they had started before they passed away, or what have you. So I just like anything nice, anything happy news, etc. Thank you guys for popping in. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the office, 705-726-7000. And again, thank you guys for voting us Barrie's #1 top choice real estate agency the past 4 years in a row. And thank you so much for watching. Have a super evening. Believe in yourself and know that you are unstoppable. Take care.